General question, George. Like, you're gonna say a bunch of things like, okay, you're gonna help prison reform, all these things that you just said. You're gonna, say, hey, I don't know if you're ever gonna try to raise money again for whatever project. But how could anyone ever trust you again with any words or giving you $1? I mean, after all the things you admitted you did.
Cenk, I mean, you'd be surprised, and I'm happy to report that I've had an influx of people wanting to get involved with prison reform, and I have already pledges, and I haven't taken a penny because I will not manage it. But I'm working on establishing a foundation or whatever vehicle it's going to be of nonprofit to do this work and help people. But I have people reaching out to me. I haven't reached out to a single person asking for a penny because I have nowhere to put it. But there are people pledging millions of dollars as of today.
All right, welcome back to the Young Turks. We got an amazing interview for you guys now. Former Congressman and convicted felon George Santos joins us. George, welcome.
Hi, Cenk. How are you? Long time no talk.
Yep. We talked before the election, and here we are. And you've gone to prison in the meanwhile. So you were convicted on a great number of charges, 7 counts of wire fraud, money laundering, theft of public funds, making materially false statements. And you went to prison for it. First, let me just ask you, how was prison?
Well, prison was awful. And anyone who thinks prison is anything other than awful, then you have a wild thing coming for you. But awful doesn't mean it needs to be inhumane or dehumanizing. And that was my experience at the care of Warden Kelly down in FCI Ferreton. Now, again, I don't know other prisons. I haven't prison hopped, and I know that that's a term that you probably might not be familiar with, but it is a real thing in the BOP system. Some inmates, they move around a lot and whatnot. So that's all I know. My experience was horrid. I don't think prison should be. I mean, there was a former discredited source who had made lambastic accusations of death threats against me back in 2023 resurfaced now with new allegations that she had uncovered that there was somebody attempting to break into prison to murder me. And then this was made public, and for protective custody purposes and for protection, the warden placed me under what they called protective custody. Now, protective custody, you would think they're protecting you. Unfortunately, they put you in the same place that they would put somebody who got into a fight, bought in contraband, stabbed somebody, which is the SHU, the Special Housing Unit, also known as AGSEG, or commonly known as solitary confinement. So I sat there for 41 days with only ability to take 3 showers a week, no access to any outside communication other than one 15-minute phone call every 30 days. No ability to email my family, no ability to have any independence. I mean, I was drinking water from the top of a toilet bowl that had metallic sediments falling into the bottom of the cup. There were rats and mice trapped in the light fixture on top of my head, running around. I mean, this is the United States, and that's not what prison should look like, nor a place where you expect people to be rehabilitated so that they can re-enter society. That's a place where you make people angry, frustrated, and hence the reason for recidivism. So it's just insane.
Yeah, so solitary confinement is unacceptable. It's a form of torture, and that shouldn't have happened. So now let's go on to your charges. So obviously President Trump commuted your sentence. You were supposed to serve 7 years, you served 84 days. First, I want to understand, you pled guilty, so you're supposed to pay back $375,000 in restitution. Have you done that?
I have not done so. I don't have the means at the time, but even though I'm not required to, I've made the decision with my legal team that I will do so once the means are available. But most importantly, they need to figure out how to explore this and how to do it, because we don't have a legal vehicle or avenue to do so. So when the time comes, I mean, they are working on it. And when the time comes, I will make sure I come back on television and I will make sure that everybody knows, and I'll give receipts that it has been paid. The only way I move forward with my life and continue to do what I want to do, which is good, is also by closing that one last door in my past of my transgressions. So it is something I will work towards, absolutely.
So when your sentence is commuted, does that mean you technically don't have to pay the money back and you're doing this?
There's several ways of clemency. I guess the one avenue. It's either a pardon or a commutation, and this is part of that process. It's how it's written in the law. But I've been asked the question. It's been posed to me many times. Again, I don't have any legal obligation, but I do have what I'm calling a moral obligation. And if I want to make sure people understand I've changed with my, after this experience, I think the best way is to start with my actions. And I think that would be a great action and a good first foot forward. So that's why I want to do it. Again, I don't have the means at the moment. I just got out of prison. I am just going to work on rebuilding everything in my life. And as soon as I have the means, I will start making that effort. And hopefully we can find a legal vehicle and avenue to do so without harassing anybody who should be receiving funds back from my campaign misuses. And that's just really the only thing I can say at the time. I mean, this is so recent, but I just wanted to give you a solid answer on what I intend to do and what I plan to do. Granted, I can have a legal way to do so.
All right, I mean, folks that are representing the victims, the prosecutors say that you've got $400,000 from Cameo. So how do we know when you've had enough? And George, let's be honest, given your record of not being great at telling the truth, how in the world can we trust you that you're actually going to pay them?
Well, Cenk, I think a lot of people don't understand. Prosecutors love to make their case sexy, and they do inflate things. The timeline doesn't coincide with the facts. I did earn a total of $400,000 gross from Cameo in December of 2023. However, I had not pled guilty nor had been ordered restitution at that point. And all of that money was dispersed for my legal defense. So it's just not true. That they conveniently might have said in the papers and in the filings, in the motions that you're reading but they failed to outline the timeline. I took a plea deal in August of 2020. And
so is that money gone already? Did you spend it already?
Of course, I had to pay my counsel. I had 3 attorneys, and all that money went to legal.
I got you. Do you get that a lot of people think that this is a gross injustice, that you didn't have to serve your 7-year sentence like anyone else, and presumably because you kissed up to Donald Trump?
Well, I question you this. Did you know that a lot of Democrats, including sitting members of Congress and in the Senate, thought that it was a grossly politically charged sentence, 7 years and 3 months for a first-time nonviolent white-collar crime offense? And the only explanation is politics. So
no, there's a lot of explanations. No, George, you pled guilty to these crimes.
I understand. Let me finish my point here, and to give you comparison. And I'm going to give you a Democrat and a Republican. Former Representative Michael Grimm received 18 months for $900,000 of concealing income while he was in Congress. And then former Congressman Jesse Jackson, a Democrat in Illinois, received a 30-month sentence after he was found guilty of stealing over $500,000 for his own personal benefit. I come in at $373,000, and I am found guilty. I plead guilty, obviously, and I'm given 7 years and 3 months.
Okay, so
there's no equity.
So are you okay to go back for 30 months like the other congressman?
I'm gonna answer you this way. The power of clemency is plenary, and it's up to the president. The president chose to do this, and he has the right to do it. I love that everybody's questioning it. I would have loved to seen everybody this passionate when former presidents commuted or pardoned former allies like President Clinton did, like President Biden did. So
yes.
I think,
good news. Well, good news. We were just as outraged by that. Mark Rich is the guy you're talking about with Bill Clinton. He was a donor to Bill Clinton, and he was pardoned at the end. It was disgusting. Obviously, Hunter Biden pardoned by Joe Biden, and the list goes on. But it doesn't excuse what you did. So there's
I'm not saying excuses. I'm just saying that the outrage there on the pardon. It seems to be very one-sided when it's for Republicans, but Democrats, the outrage maybe makes it one day of news. I know I'm going to be in the long haul for weeks of news coverage.
George, you know why though? You know why? Because you have an enormous record of lying, and then you got caught here, you got sentenced. You think your sentence was a little too long, but now everybody agrees it's way too short because of the commutation. So like, don't pretend you don't know. Okay, so speaking of that, let's go to Richard Ossoff. He's a retired Navy veteran, and he says you defrauded him out of $3,000 in his his dog died because you didn't spend that on the dog, instead you kept it for yourself. So how do you answer that, brother? How do you give him justice?
That's a very simple question. I'll answer it. I've answered it before. In the year 2014, Richard Ostoff reached out to a volunteer, Andrea, out in Jersey, who reached out to me. We wanted to help the dog. The dog had, again, Sapphire, gorgeous little pit bull dog. I love animals. I have a stellar record of rescuing animals. And Mr. Ostoff disagrees with the outcome here, but he allowed the dog to get to a point of almost no return. We raised some money for the dog. It wouldn't cover the surgery. And even if we had done the surgery, she had only a 15 chance of survival. We have everything documented from that. And I didn't keep the money for myself. The money was spent on other animals that needed the help. Cenk, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in my life helping animals. I have receipts. I have countless people who reach out to me with pictures of dogs that I've helped rescue and place. So Mr. Ostoff didn't like the result. Mr. Ostoff is a veteran. I thank him for his service. I have never in my life would I hurt a veteran, let alone a dog. So it's not black and white, and more so to prove that I have never been even indicted or investigated, nor there has been any mention of that in any of my legal challenges in the past on this case. So I just want to make this very, very clear. I feel for Mr. Ostoff, I feel for Sapphire, but I also want to say that I'm not the boogeyman and monster that everybody wants to say. I do not swindle veterans, I do not hurt animals. That is a fact, and I'm not going to sit and take this one. Have I transgressed in the past? Hell yes. Have I been not truthful? Absolutely. And I take that responsibility and I move forward with it. You asked me a question, will I do the right thing? Yes, I will do the right thing and do my best efforts to get the means to go ahead and out there and make right, because I want to make right. I want to focus on doing good, and that's what I'm going to do. I won't be deterred, however, by sensationalism of people trying to create stories that are just not factual.
Yeah, you can understand why people don't trust you. So
I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
So are you thinking of ever going back into politics?
Absolutely not in an elected capacity. I'm uninterested. It's not something that's really effective. It's not something that really yields results. I mean, look, the government shut down because Democrats seem to want to keep the government shut down and not negotiate. I'm not in a position of net negative. I rather take my time and do what I've committed myself to do, which is prison reform, which I learned a great deal in 84 days. And I've seen what a corrupt, derelict in duty administrator at a facility can do to cause harm, pain, and also lack of rehabilitation and cause more anger, which leads to recidivism that we have in this country at an all-time high. And not to mention that we also need to focus on something else that I want to do, which is troubled youth. We need to invest in our youth in inner cities where they're underdeveloped, under opportunity. They don't have opportunities because there are none, because our politicians are failing. So instead of going to the problem, I'm going to go work on the solution. And the solution is working out here and holding politicians accountable so that we can do the right thing for Americans and reduce our prison population in this country.
The one upside of white collar criminals and former politicians going to prison is they bring attention to how awful prison is when they come back. No one cares when it's an average person, an average American who's brutalized in prison. But I guess they're going to care a little bit because you were, and I didn't want that happening to you. So now look, President Trump commuted your sentence. There's an American hero he has not pardoned. His name is Edward Snowden. So do you think he should do likewise and pardon Edward Snowden?
I honestly do not know who Mr. Stone is. I'm sorry if I missed that. If you want to educate me on it, I'd love to read up on it and I can get back to you on that.
All right, that's amazing. Okay, so he's the one that released the warrantless wiretapping, leaked it so that we all know that the government was abusing our privacy, and is now in hiding because both Democratic and Republican presidents have hounded him to the end of the earth for being an American hero. Okay, last thing. Look, general question, George. Like, you're gonna say a bunch of things like, okay, you're gonna help prison reform, all these things that you just said. You're gonna, say, hey, I don't know if you're ever gonna try to raise money again for whatever project. But how could anyone ever trust you again with any words or giving you $1? I mean, after all the things you admitted you did.
Cenk, I mean, you'd be surprised, and I'm happy to report that I've had an influx of people wanting to get involved with prison reform. And I have already pledges, and I haven't taken a penny because I will not manage it. But I'm working on establishing a foundation or whatever vehicle it's going to be of nonprofit to do this work and help people. But I have people reaching out to me. I haven't reached out to a single person asking for a penny because I have nowhere to put it. But there are people pledging millions of dollars as of today towards us. My attorney's talking to people. They're working on it. But we need to set up a vehicle. And I don't think anything is going to happen before the holidays. So stay tuned. And I'd love to have you on the board so you can be a great hawk. And this is an invitation to you, Cenk. Despite our differences, I think you and I would agree very well that prison reform is an imperative thing and it's a bipartisan need. And I'd invite you to sit on the board so that you can be a great custodian of the finances that we're going to raise. But I am happy to say that I have an import of people offering to help because they like the message I'm sending out.
That is stunning that people would want to give you millions of dollars. But I love prison reform. I think it's absolutely necessary. I don't know why it's acceptable. I don't know why it's acceptable to do torture through solitary confinement. I don't know why it's acceptable or a joke that there's rape in prisons. That's not civilized, that's not American. So if you are offering me a board seat there, I will consider it.
And I look forward to it. I want to set a bipartisan organization where everybody can come together and put all the garbage rhetoric aside and do something that is good for the American people. We all need to be custodians of it. I don't want the financial responsibility for obvious reasons because I'd rather not have that, how can I say, albatross sitting on my head. So I'd rather do it in a very bipartisan fashion. 3 conservatives, 3 liberals. We'll put them on a board, let them be the judges and custodians of that, and we'll move forward in doing the messaging and what's right. Because you're right, there is no incentive to report violence, rape, and sexual abuse in prison. Because here's what happens: you file something called a PREA report in prison. You, as the victim, are put in the shoe, which means now it's protective custody. So that means you're in solitary confinement. Make that make sense, Cenk. It does not work. It is broken. It needs reform. And this is an incumbent on any DOJ director or pardon me, BOP director. This one, the former one, and the past ones. It's really an institutional issue that needs to be changed at these wardens who operate like their prisons are their kingdoms. And that's what we need to change. That is where the issue lies. We need to roll back the discretionary power that a lot of these administrators have because they are corrupt, they have been institutionalized, and they do treat prisoners like subhuman garbage. And that is not what reforming people is about. That's why I'm taking this mission so seriously, because it's not a top of the chain issue. It's a literally mid-management issue, and that's where the issue really lies.
Yeah, the reason I would consider that your offer on the board is because I would want to make absolutely sure that that money goes to its intended purpose.
Absolutely.
All right, former Representative George Santos, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Cenk. It's a pleasure to be with you guys and your audience.